Hello students, this is Divya Kumari Meena, Assistant Professor, Government Girls College, Sikandra. Today we will study the poem Obituary, written by A.K. Ramanujan, who was born in Mysore. He was a bilingual writer who wrote in both languages, English and Kannada. He was a famous and renowned poet, essayist, scholar, professor, folklorist, and playwright. He was awarded Sahitya Academy Award posthumously in 1999 for the collected poems. The poem Obituary. The word obituary means a small notice of a person's death published in newspaper. Obituary is an account of the life, career, and heroic deeds of the dead person published in newspaper. It is a kind of written notice about a person's qualities. The poem is written on the death of the father. The tone of the language is funny. I'm going to recite the poem. Father, when he passed on, left dust on the table of papers, left debts and daughters, and bedwetting grandson, named by the toss of a coin after him. Here in the first stanza, the poet describes about the things which a father left behind his death for a son, as he left all kind of responsibilities. So father when he passed on, when the father died, left dust on the table of papers, he left behind him some dust which is spread on the papers on the table, left debts. He also borrowed some money and daughters. In India, daughters are regarded as burden because of the dowry system. So the father left all kind of responsibilities for a son and a bedwetting grandson, and also he left behind him a very small grandson named by the toss of a coin after him, which was the grandson was given the name of his grandfather. So the first stanza shows that the father left all kind of difficulties and hardship and burdens for his son. So this line shows the bad condition. A house that leaned slowly through our growing years on a bent coconut tree in the yard, being in the burning type, he burned properly at the cremation. Again, he described that his father left behind him a house, and this stinja also shows the pathetic and bad condition of the house. A house that leaned slowly through our growing years. As the years passed on, the house also leaned. There was a bend in the building of the house, and it bent on a coconut tree which is grown in the yard of the house. The here is the poet uses a kind of metaphor. As the house is bent upon the tree, it shows the dependency on the other things to fulfill the requirement of the house. The house owner has to depend upon the other people. He has to borrow money to fulfill the just in order to fulfill the requirement of the house. So here is a this is a metaphor which shows the dependency on others. Being the burning type, he burned properly. The father was burning type. It means the body of the father was that much weak that that it was very easy to be burned. He burned properly at the cremation. So he was burned very easily at the time of the cremation. As before, easily and at both ends, left his eye coins in the ashes that didn't look one bit different, several spinal discs, rough, some burned to call for sons. As before. As before here means when his father was alive, easily and at both ends. Left his eye coins. When his father was alive, it was also very typical to eat properly, and he left nothing for his son. He left only two coins which were put on his eyes at the time of the cremation. In the ashes that didn't look one bit different. The coin when his father was burnt, and after the burning he turned into the ash, but the coin remained same. There was not any difference in the coins. Several spinal discs, rough, some burned to call for sons. Everything got burned and turned into the coal. To pick gingerly and throw, as the priest said, facing east where three rivers meet. Near the railway station, no long standing headstone with his full name and two dates. To pick gingerly. After the cremation of the father, gingerly hair means carefully. They picked the ashes and the remainings of the burning body very carefully, and and they throw the ash into the river as the priest guided them. They throw the ash they throw the ash in the river which is which flows near the railway station. No long standing headstone with his full name and two dates. Not any headstone was erected as in the Christian mythology and according to the Christian tradition. When the when the dead body of a person is buried into the grave, a stone is erected beside the grave, and his name, his full name, and the date of his birth and date of his death is written on that headstone just to make him memorizable, just for making him memorable. These his name and his these two dates are written on that headstone. But here the poet says that not any kind of headstone is erected beside for his father. To holding there parenthesis everything he didn't quite manage to do himself, like his Caesarean birth in the Brahmin ghetto and his death by heart failure in the fruit market. To hold in there parenthesis, the word here means bracket. To hold in there parenthesis everything he didn't quite manage to do himself. He, he, the man, it means the father, when he was alive, he couldn't do anything. He didn't do any kind of work on his own, like his Caesarean birth. Even when when he was born, he was not born naturally. He was born by an operation. So he didn't do anything even when he was born in a Brahman ghetto. He born in a Brahmin family and his death by heart failure in the fruit market. And when he died automatically by the heart failure in the fruit market. So this line shows the inability of doing anything. But someone told me he got two lines in an inside column of a Madras newspaper sold by the kilo exactly 4 weeks later to street hawkers. The, the father of the speaker couldn't do any kind of work during his lifetime, but when he died, after his death, someone told to the son of the dead father that he got two lines here refer to the obituary, that his name was mentioned in the newspaper, and the newspaper, which is sold after some days by the street hawkers, the newspaper becomes useless after one day. It the newspaper is valuable only on the same day when it is published. After that day, it becomes useless. So, when the 4 weeks passes away, the newspaper becomes useless. So, someone told the speaker that his name, his father's name was mentioned in a newspaper, but now that newspaper has become useless. Who sell it in turn to the small groceries where I buy salt or coriander and jaggery in newspaper cons that I usually read. The street hawkers, when they sell these news these useless newspapers, they sell it to the grocers, and these newspapers are used to sell groceries and the vegetables and the jaggeries. So these things are put on the newspaper. For fun, it means the value of the obituary or a person after his death is nothing. Even the value of the groceries like salt, coriander, and jaggery is much more than that person who has died, because when he dies, after some time, everybody forgets him, and and these things are put upon that newspaper. So the that man is less important than these grocery items. For fun, and lately in the hope of finding these obituary lines, and he left us a changed mother and more than one annual ritual. For fun, here the last line is connected, that I usually read for fun, the newspaper which the people read for the sake of fun, and also in the hope to find that obituary lines. And he left us a changed mother and more than one annual ritual. And the father left behind him all kind of responsibilities, all kind of difficulties and hardship of life, and also the burdens, uh, and with all these responsibilities he left behind him his mother, the responsibility of his mother, and also the annual ritual. After the death of his father, they has to do the annual ritual every year in the memory of his father.